The Volkswagen Touareg is the biggest SUV VW sells here in the UK. It's spacious, comfortable, packed with tech, and it's cheaper than lots of its luxury rivals. Now, normally it'd be asking too much for a big, heavy family car like this to do all those things and be fast and efficient. But Volkswagen, with the addition of this little badge, says it's not asking too much at all. Say hello to the Volkswagen Touareg R. That R badge is what VW gives to its flagship performance cars. So it could mean race or rapid, but if you ask me, it should stand for ridiculous. You see, the Touareg R is powered by a 3-litre turbocharged V6 petrol engine that produces 335 brake horsepower, and as a plug-in hybrid, it's also fitted with a hefty electric motor. Combine the two and you get 456 brake horsepower, which is crazy. That's almost half of what you get from a Formula 1 car. So when you put your foot down, the result isn't surprising. With all that power and 700 Newton meters of torque, 0 to 62 miles per hour takes just 5.1 seconds. And if you have access to your own runway, which we don't have the budget for today, the speedo will keep going all the way to 155 miles an hour. On paper, the Touareg R is just as impressive when it comes to fuel economy. Officially, it will do 96.4 miles per gallon and CO2 emissions as low as 66 grams per kilometre, meaning company car drivers will pay just 17% benefit-in-kind tax, despite that massive engine. All of this is made possible by the battery. With just over 14 kilowatt hours of juice to play with, the Touareg R can travel up to 28 miles without using a drop of petrol. And the more you plug in and charge, the more money you'll save. Use a 3-pin socket and the battery will be topped up in just over 8 hours. But with a 7 kilowatt wall box, you can cut that down to 2.5 hours. Those efficiency figures sound too good to be true, and to be honest, they sort of are. In reality, you're never going to be able to charge the battery often enough to keep those numbers up. And when it runs out, you won't be getting 96 miles per gallon. You'll be getting closer to 30. The other problem is the battery and motor add weight. The Touareg R is getting on to half a ton heavier than the standard car, and that really affects how well it responds. Watch as I turn into a corner. The body doesn't roll very much, but it doesn't feel sporty or dynamic, which is a shame for a car that shares the same badge as the hot hatch version of the Golf. So if it's not very efficient and not that thrilling to drive, what is it? Well, maybe that badge should stand for relaxing, because the Touareg R is at its best when driven at a leisurely pace. The electric motor works really well with the engine and the 8-speed automatic gearbox, and 4-wheel drive means you'll have nothing to worry about when the weather is at its most British. But while it is more relaxing than the standard Touareg, it's not necessarily more comfortable. Again, the extra weight from the battery puts more of a demand on the suspension. And although Volkswagen has tried to make up for it by fitting clever air suspension, you do also get these enormous 22-inch wheels as standard. So the ride hasn't really improved. When you hit a pothole, you're going to know about it. At this point, you're probably thinking that all those flaws are adding up, in which case you're not going to be encouraged by the price. Not including the optional extras like a driver assistance pack, a head-up display and this lovely lapis blue paint, this car, as tested, costs £73,215. I'll give you a minute just to process that. To be fair to the Touareg, there are a lot of things that it does very well. Because it's so big, there's plenty of space inside for passengers, with lots of head and leg room in every seat. It's very practical too. Although the battery eats into the boot space, you still get 665 litres with the seats up, and more than 1,600 with them folded down. Not only that, but there are handy levers for collapsing those seats. And remember that air suspension? Well, you can control control it with these buttons to make it easier to load shopping bags or help your dog jump into the back. There's no 7-seat option though. To get this feature from a VW, you'll have to step down to the smaller Tiguan. One of the Touareg's other strengths is the amount of kit you get for your money. Included as standard are adaptive cruise control, parking sensors, a rear view camera, a 360-degree camera, LED matrix lights with high beam assistance, automatic climate control, heated door mirrors, keyless entry, a panoramic sunroof and this cool ambient lighting. There's plenty more too, although it's a shame you have to pay extra for a heated windscreen and heated seats on a car that's this expensive. The centrepiece of all this tech is this huge 15-inch touchscreen display, which looks even bigger sat next to the smaller 12.3-inch digital instrument display. Naturally, the main screen runs Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can plug your phone in no problem, with a display that responds well and the layout is really easy to get used to. The rest of the interior is finished to an extremely high standard and it feels built to survive family life. Crucially, for such a big car, it's easy to find a driving position with good visibility, so there are no stresses when you're behind the steering wheel. If I had to make one complaint, it'd be that the interior looks almost identical to the normal mid-range Touareg. Don't get me wrong, it looks smart, but is it special enough for a car that costs over 70 grand? And that's the problem with the Touareg R. It doesn't really do enough to justify its price tag, which is eye-wateringly high when you think that its main selling points are that it's spacious, practical, and for some reason pleasingly efficient. Yes, there are lots of gadgets, but there are rivals that give you far more bang for your buck. So let's take a rival like the plug-in hybrid version of the BMW X5, for example. Now, that car is more efficient, has more electric range, is more comfortable, and it costs less than the Touareg R. Okay, so it doesn't have as much kit, but if I had to choose between the two, I don't think I'd pick this. So what does that R badge really stand for, do you think? Regular? Run-of-the-mill? Room for improvement? Let us know what you think in the comments. Head to DrivingElectric.com for the latest electric car advice, news and reviews, and make sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Before you go, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified when the next video goes live.